Okay, so we're starting from the names. Taz, Kati, Ross, Jacinta, Heyman. I'm sorry. And yeah, you want to say your names?
Campbell.
Cole?
Cole.
Sol?
Jane.
Jane.
Selena.
Tazzy.
And Kat. And welcome everyone. I'm just going to say a few words, just as I promised Bob, we're going to keep going and keep showing up. But it was brought to my attention that on the Facebook page and Facebook group there was some probably AI or some nasty scammer who was collecting personal data, creating a live link to the memorial, which is pretty disgusting, but I don't know, hopefully it's not too late to warn those who joined that group to report it as quickly as you can and just forget about it. We made it clear that it's not going to be a live stream. We will have the recording in a couple of days. Tibor has recorded it, so it will be available on Bob's channel and online. And really sorry for that. It's just out of our hands. And because we have Tazzy here, wonderful, we're going to ask Tazzy to give us a little bit of an introduction. And we get right into it, because that's what Bob would have wanted from us.
Yeah, okay, so yeah, hi everyone, welcome, and here we are again, non-duality, not two. That's where it's come from, Advaita Vedanta. And it's expressed negatively, which is interesting. It's saying not two. It's not saying it is one, although that is expressed that way. It's expressed negatively. Because we can never really know what we are. We are being what we are. We never know what we are objectively. So it's more a matter of negation and seeing what we're not or what we're not. Recognizing what you're not. So it's not two, or one without a second, not two. So the pointing here is very direct, and we point directly to that which we are, that non-dual awareness, non-dual consciousness. That we all are. And there's no doubt about the fact that we all recognize that we are being, we know that we are, and there's no doubt about that. And when I spoke yesterday, I said, Bob had this incredible conviction, this incredible steadfastness and unwavering understanding. And we all have that right now, actually, because there's no doubt about our being. There's no doubt about our being. So that is the conviction, the same conviction, the same steadfast understanding, unwavering understanding that Bob was expressing. He's expressing your being, that being there where you are, which is beyond any doubt. Steadfast, unwavering, knowing that we are. Presence, awareness. We're both present and aware. And it's beyond any shadow of a doubt that every seemingly individual on the planet is experiencing existence, experiencing their being. We say experiencing the I am, or the I amness. Because the words I am express through the mind the fact that we are presently aware and being. The activity of being and knowing, which is also described as Sat Chit Ananda. Sat is the being, Chit is the knowing, because we know that we are. There's two aspects to that one experience. of presence awareness. We know that we are. We can express it as I am that I am. But the words I am are just an expression. They're a symbol. Those words are symbols trying to express, or they're words that are trying to express what is actual a non-verbal fact that we're experiencing our own existence, our own presence awareness. You don't have to say, I am, to know that we are. It's superfluous, actually, that statement. It's not even necessary, but if you want to communicate. And we're using those two words all the time, saying, I am going to the shop, I am happy, I am not happy, I'm doing this today, or I am, continually saying it all day long, confirming the fact of our beingness. But it gets interpreted as, the I gets interpreted as myself as an individual who's doing things. And non-duality says there is no duality in non-duality. There's no split. There's no separation. So there are no individual doers. And there are no individual beings. There is being, and all of the body minds appear in that being. If there are individual beings, then there is a duality, multiplicity. The scripture says there is no multiplicity of being. There are no beings, there's no actual individuals that are being separate from other individuals that are being. All of the body minds are appearing in non-dual awareness, non-dual being. So there are no others, in fact. There's only this presence awareness. Tazzy's body is appearing in it, and all the bodies here are appearing in that one beingness. And there's no actual separation of beings. Cannot actually pluralize the verb to be, really. It doesn't make sense if you examine it. So it really, the central teaching really focuses on the fact that we already know what we are. We're already being what we are. And there's no doubt about it. And therefore, that confidence and conviction is there. I am this presence awareness. And that presence awareness never wavers, never changes, never fades. You are always present. You cannot not be present. And this has always been the central pointer, pointing back to the fact that you have this spontaneous being which is happening and unfolding in every moment without changing. And the seeming problem is that it has become obscured. It's never actually obscured, but it seems to be obscured. And therefore, we have the concept of an individual seeker who's trying to find a way back to their self-nature. Because there seems to be some obscuration of this being. And when we look into it, we find that seeming obscuration is conceptual. If there's no thoughts, no concepts, no words arising, there is no obscuration of any kind. And everything is just as it is, unobscured, and whole, undivided. Because it's words which seemingly divide the not two into the multiplicity. And as we've heard many times, those words were learned when we were, maybe around the age of 2. Because what was born was non-conceptual awareness. And then the concepts arose, or arose on, or were learned by that energy which forms and patterns everything. Because there is a natural power that functions everything. So the intelligence energy that Bob used to talk about. It's patterning and forming everything. All the seemingly individuals, all the bodies, all the trees in the forest. The intelligence in that is what makes, the atoms of hydrogen and oxygen rise to each other and form water. Why do those atoms get together and form water? It's just a natural functioning of that energy. That universal energy which is functioning and patterning and shaping everything. It's also patterning and shaping and forming these words, these concepts, these thoughts that we learn, which seemingly obscure the non-conceptual awareness, the natural state. Because we were born without any concepts, any ideas at all, in a state of absolute non-conceptual awareness. And then that learning process took place naturally and spontaneously. That learning took place. Words were learned, and as words were learned and things were labelled, the separation began. But it's only an appearance. It appears there is separation. But it's purely a verbal separation. It's purely a conceptual separation. Now, where is separation if you don't think about it? In non-conceptual awareness, there are no concepts arising, no labels arising, nothing is being separated out into seemingly individual parts or pieces. So that's the natural state that was born. And then the concepts appeared naturally and spontaneously with that same energy. It's patterning and forming everything. It's patterning and forming all the trees, all the drops of rain, whatever. There is nothing that's not that energy. I used to say, the Buddhists have said that non-conceptual awareness is the great perfection. Because there's no separation in non-conceptual awareness. There's never been any separation in non-conceptual awareness. And you are that non-conceptual awareness, in essence. That was what was born, and that's what's still present here, and that's what that presence awareness is. Just pure being, undivided, pure knowing, undivided, pure seeing, undivided. That awareness functions as seeing, which sees through the instrument of the eye. And it sees the totality, the undivided totality. You quickly look around the room and You don't have the time to label anything. You see everything is present and here. And there's a natural understanding of what everything is and what the colours are. You don't have to stop to think about it. When you see a colour, you know what that colour is without thinking about it. When we went to school to learn our colours, we didn't go to school to learn our colours, we already knew the colours because we can see the colours. We went to learn the labels for the colours. And that applies to everything that we've labelled. So that learning process, this development of what we call the thinking mind, is seemingly obscuring the actual natural non-conceptual state. So in your essence, you have never had a thought ever. Even when thoughts are appearing, in or on that non-conceptual awareness, even when they're appearing there, the non-conceptual awareness itself remains totally free of all concepts and all ideas. And it's remained free in that non-conceptual state since the beginning, as they say, as we say. But really, where is the beginning? If we look right now, we're present and aware. When did it begin? And the concept, oh, well, maybe it began when I woke up, or maybe it began when I was born. But if we look directly now, if we look directly right now, directly into our own being, into this I amness, we see that it's ever new, ever fresh. Just bubbling up spontaneously happening. So the beginning, there is no actual beginning and there is no end. Because right now, we're present and aware. So even to conceptualize, later today, I'm going to go to sleep and then this awareness or this consciousness might be diminished or changed. Right now, that is a concept. Right now, that is an idea. Because it's undeniable that we are present and aware right now. And we can't find where or when it began without conceptualizing. And concepts are just concepts. They're just ideas. They're not the actual. They're not the thing in itself. The other concept that seems to divide is the concept of time. This concept of time seems to divide up the present. Seems to divide this undivided present into hours and days and weeks and months and years. And then that concept grows into a narrative that I was born. Tazzy was born in 1951. And he went here and he went there and he did this and he did that. It's all completely a narrative, completely conceptual, a story. And if we look right now, in this present moment, there is no time. We are present. We are the present. We conceptualize that we are in the present. But what we label the present, this immediacy right now, that is our self-nature. That is our true nature, right there. This immediacy of knowing and being, that's what we are. And yet we conceptualize it, break it up into time, and build a story and a narrative about the person or the persona, which is just a narrative. And it's mainly built on the concept of time. If we ask someone, tell me about yourself, I'll start with a narrative, time-based narrative. I was born such and such a time, I'm so many years old. But if we look directly now into our being, right now, it's timeless. Just timeless presence. There's movement in this appearance. The sun moves across the sky. And from that movement, we conceptualize there is time. There is no time. Self-nature is timeless. It's always happening right now in the present. It's immediate, spontaneously immediate, spontaneously present. So we are the present. We are this immediacy that's happening right now. One of the other divisions, conceptual divisions, and brought about by concepts, is the division of subject and object. And another one of the great mayas, the great illusions, that there is a subject and there is an object. It's purely brought about by words. But the problem is, to use language, we have to have a subject and object. That's how we create that, the words create that seeming duality. But unfortunately, or fortunately, whichever way you want to look at it, we cannot speak without having a subject-object paradigm. But what we miss is, what we miss is that they are, again, just words. We have the seer, the seeing, and we have the seen. The only one that's actually immediate and happening right now, presently, is seeing. The seer and the seen are labels, concepts, seemingly dividing the undivided into these three: the seer, the seeing, and the seen. So the seer and the seen are added in by the mind to create the subject-object, which isn't actually real. It's entirely based upon the words. Concept of subject and object. How are we going to go?
Good, a bit closer.
Oh yeah. So if we look in directly into ourselves, look directly into our presence awareness, into our being, and examine it, we can see for ourselves, investigate, we can see for ourselves that this is the facts. This is the truth of the matter. There is no actual obscuration or diminution of being at all. It's purely, there's a little saying that the imaginary chains of our bondage are forged from the letters of the alphabet. There is no actual bondage at all without words. And what are words? Words are the letters of the alphabet. And when we hear a word, we see an image because we've learned the meaning of the word. If you hear the word cat, immediately an image, some image of a cat appears in your mind. If that image didn't appear, you wouldn't know what the word cat meant. If I say the word kuching, you probably say, I don't know what that means. But it means cat in another language, in Indonesian language. Kuching is a cat. So you see how we've learned these words, and these words are identified with an image, and they can't be separated. The word and the image are one. You hear the word, you see the image in your mind. You see the image, or you see the cat, and the word cat appears. That's what we did when we went to school. We learned to label things. And it's purely, a social convention. Words are just a social convention. Groups of people got together over time and decided these are the words we're going to use to label these things. But they are identified together. The word and the image are the same thing. If you look at your mind and look at the thoughts as they arise, you'll see the process happening. You can see how the process is unfolding. If I say Barack Obama, everyone has that image immediately in their mind. It's seen and cognized and understood. If I say the word Joe Blogs, pretty much guarantee there's no image appearing. I don't know Joe Blogs because I don't have the image of Joe Blogs. So this is how thinking, conceptualizing, happens and how it's been formed. And it's just the natural ability of consciousness, that same energy, that one energy, learning and forming, because it's filled with intelligence. And these concepts, these words are very, very useful because we use them to communicate. And that's the basic use of thinking is for communication. And it's very useful. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just that it's seemingly created the sense of an individual person, individual self, who's feeling incomplete and is seeking and searching for a resolution to that feeling of being incomplete. And the resolution is already here as non-conceptual awareness. Everything is resolved in that non-conceptual awareness. Which, brings back to Bob's great point of what's wrong with right now if you don't think about it. If all thoughts are absent, which they are in non-conceptual awareness, there are no problems. So we are that. And this is the other great pointing. We are already that. We are already this non-conceptual awareness. It's already here. We are present and aware beyond any doubt. So there's nothing to be brought in from the outside, or nothing to be manufactured or created by practices. It's already here, it's already present. We are that. And it's beyond it, I keep saying, beyond any doubt. But that's what's so wonderful about it, is that it is beyond any doubt. It's just no doubt about it. That you're present and aware, and that is the essence that everything is unfolding on and appearing on, or appearing in, whichever way you want to put it. So if we turn our attention, focus our attention towards the fact that we know that we are, towards our being, diverted away from the appearance, and relax into that, and just be in that presence. We already are that presence. So where words are difficult, they always create a duality where there isn't one. Just relax into that presence, continue to notice that you are. Because it's very noticeable. It's noticeable that I have consciousness is here. I am conscious. I am being and knowing. I know that I am. I know that I am. And that's the real foundation of this whole thing. Just self-recognition. Just recognizing the fact that right now consciousness is here. Right? And the world's appearing in that consciousness, not separate from that consciousness. When this knowledge I am arises, the world arises with it. You can't separate this presence awareness from the appearance. Co-arise. Even that is implying that there's a duality there. But there's no duality there at all. And you know, the mirror makes a great metaphor. You look in the mirror and look in the mirror. You can see, you know, perfect reflection. Can you see the face of the mirror? The actual reflecting surface of the mirror is invisible. But yet it's reflecting, perfectly reflecting everything that's in front of it. And you can't take that image, that reflection off the mirror. You can't separate this appearance, the seeing, hearing, feeling, tasting, touching, from this presence awareness.
Can you hold that, Tazzy? Some people can hear you, some can't. Just speak to me.
Sorry, I'm turning my head away from the mic, I guess.
Yeah.
So this mirror metaphor is a really fantastic metaphor because the mirror itself is the perfect reflecting agent. The same way that awareness is this perfect reflecting agent. Everything is allowed to appear in it without being separate in any way. And also the mirror is not affected by what appears in it. The mirror can be reflecting the most heinous image imaginable. And if we remove that image from the mirror, we'll find that the surface of the mirror is not affected in any way at all. And the awareness is like that. It's not affected by anything that appears or disappears. Because it doesn't conceptualize. Awareness is non-conceptual in nature. It has no opinions, it has no preferences. It just lets everything be as it is, just as the mirror is letting everything reflect within itself. Awareness is letting everything be just as it is, without modification, and without any separation or any breaking up into individual parts. Because you see the image in the mirror, it's not broken up into parts, is it? It's a complete whole. And awareness, our nature is like that. It's simply seeing. Seeing a totality, seeing it undivided. Not two. And that's what we are. That's this nature that's been pointed to. So I guess I'll wrap it up there. Yeah, so yeah, this time everyone gets to give a little spiel themselves or ask a question or share.
I have some online
Share
community
that
comments. Yes, thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. It was beautiful and much needed today. We have an online community, and I do apologize. We are testing new cordless mics, so I will amplify it after all before uploading. Some people can hear us very well, some can hardly hear, so I don't know. I have, Anthony says, it's sometimes easier to love others than it is to love yourself. Let's take this time to love ourselves as one with all. Beautiful. It's all one life, one reflection. There was more of a good morning messages, but unfortunately the Facebook cut me off. So good morning, everyone. And there was a question about someone wanting to join or include Zoom in those live stream meetings. So, and he's from America. For the Americans, there is a Zoom meeting tomorrow, depending which time zone you guys are. Information is on sailorbob.adamson.com/meetings, and Julia is hosting the meetings, and Tazzy is often guiding it, chairing it, and speaking it. So please join them tomorrow. We have Anthony also says just tools and not the reality. And Catherine and James, it is closer to all of us, closer than hands and feet, closer than the breath we take, and prior to any thoughts. We are already that. That's a beautiful thing to always remember and highlight. Can't get away with it. Can't get away from that. There is no distance. There's literally no distance. And Anthony says, Bob's pointers are so strong. Caroline says, I like this mirror analogy, helpful. And not even one, says Anthony, just is. And Caroline says, I, laughing out loud. And peace is shining through anyways, says Tanya, in regards to the little bit low volume, but the peace, the quality of the transmission between the words, the silence that carries the confidence in the message, it really is it. And this is really the invitation for anyone and everyone to just highlight whatever is clear. I mean, it's absolutely wonderful to ask questions and dispel the doubts, but you can answer the questions coming from the concepts only that far. You can answer them with 1,000 first questions, and then you can realize that the more questions of the mind is answered, the more of them come up, and it is a never-ending story. And that which asks the question is illusion. There isn't anyone. It's just a question. Sometimes getting them swapped out of the way helps. But really it is about looking at the source of all questions, the source of all activities, of all thoughts, of all feelings, all appearances, and see how they all appear on the empty screen, in the awareness, in that field of knowing. And every one of you knows already that they are, that you are very, very clear that you exist. You can't deny it, you can't stop it, you can't ignore it or try not to be. And there are other things, bits and pieces that did land, and they are good reminders, and really bringing up and hearing that confidence in the message, whichever bit of it resonated, filters through your own body-mind, is the best way to really anchor it and share it. And some people who mightn't have heard Bob with his 48, almost 49 years of clarity and very, very little connection to that chattering mind, they might hear you better than him. So I strongly encourage, just as he does, to anyone who can say any pointer that feels right, that is known, is understood, that is helpful, to just speak as close as you can to the mic and give it to us. Anyone? Silence. That's a good pointer. Silence is a good pointer, and it's also never far away. And a space is a good pointer, never far away. See, whatever ever happens, whatever thoughts, whatever mental images, whatever stories arise, they arise in that field of silence. If not for that field, they wouldn't have any place or any space to arise, or stillness, or space. The presence, the inseparable, the pointers, all those words Tazzy beautifully highlighted, they're just concepts, they're words, they're concepts, they're pointers. But the stillness, the space, the silence, the presence, the aliveness, the vibrancy or radiance of that presence, in which everything happens, everything is known in that presence. Nothing could arise and be known and be experienced if not for that existence, if not for the fact that you are. So how important is the content comparing to that first prerequisite of pure existence? And why don't we give the credit where credit is due, and why don't we put our heart into that first cause, which is the existence, without which nothing is? And then from that perspective, anchored in that natural, relaxed presence, awareness of presence, of course, everything that appears in that mirror, every dream that plays out in that field, is absolutely a reflection of it. It's the totality as well. It's a beautiful reflection. It's Maya, it's illusion, but it's to be appreciated. It's to be honored and loved, but for what it is. Because when we miss it and when we take it for the reality, when we take it for the solid reality of bricks and walls and nastiness of the world and the offenses that people throw at each other, that hurts. That's isolating. There is an anxiety in it. There is loneliness. And it just doesn't have to be this way. Come on. Oh, okay.
Both Kat and Tazzy have voices that sound like music to me. So it makes it easier to just listen, not analysing the meaning of the words or trying to be critical or no judgment, just to listen to the flow of this music. It's like listening to instrumental music, and that is helps looking past the thoughts that come, that try and go, oh, what does that mean, and how can I apply that? And no, just listen, listening, because it's just happening, and nothing needs to be done with it. Nothing needs to be done with it. Just let it happen. And it's lovely and relaxing as it is, Just being. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, that's beautiful. The fact that nothing ever needs to be done. There is nowhere to go. Nothing needs to happen. There is no waiting for tomorrow. There is no waiting for having more understanding, more clarity, or breaking through, or finding out, or anything. It's just right here, right now, in that space of relaxed presence. When the talking happens, like a music, or when music happens, or when noise happens, all of it happens. When the turmoil or emotional storm is happening, it is also happening in that presence. And the presence, that emptiness, that field, it does nothing. And that's your essential nature, that which does nothing. Whatever is happening in the seeming dream, you may be running, climbing trees, just like in the dream at night. You may be having some pleasures or whatever, of flying, but all this is happening in that screen of presence, in the consciousness that is noticing, knowing of it. And that does nothing of it. The dream character may do all sorts of antics, and the consciousness of that field is just knowing of it, and does nothing about it. If in any situation in life you can acknowledge that part, it's not a part, it's a totality, but it may be experienced as part, because attention may be divided. Like Tazzy was saying, attention may be completely taken by the distractions, the obscurations. But if there is enough of the free, relaxed attention to just be that doing nothing, just lay there, just float there. And then part of the attention may be with the distraction, with the turmoil, with the narrative, or with fighting, action, climbing, flying, whatever it is. But that relaxed attention, that's the respite. And that's your essential nature that is not trapped in the dream, that's the freedom. And the trapped part in it kind of looks like fun. It's quite amazing. I mean, it's not really entirely the right word, fun, but I can tell you I had these incredible experiences of just before Bob passed away and just after, of spontaneous, completely spontaneous waves, of stormy waves of energy, of just a flood of tears and a sobbing. And it wasn't entirely unpleasant because there wasn't a resistance to it. And it would come and it would just completely express itself fully to the amazement, because that free attention that was the background of it was just, wow! That was so powerful and so strong and so sweeping off everything that, well, the space could only say, wow! And it would be gone within minutes, and absolute peace and silence. And then another one coming up, and welcome, whatever, who is there to object to anything that appears? And having that attitude, that relaxed, space-like attitude, nothing hurts. Even the worst tragedy that could ever happen to anyone, loss of your spouse, which is apparently the highest stress level on the Rohr Holmes scale, and that takes, and I can tell you our cat is really, really upset by the changes in the energy in the house. It can still be just the content of happening. And that relaxed space-like awareness is untouched by anything that appears in that space. There is that which is untouched by the content of the dream. And this is what Bob meant also when he said, when his first wife died and he was all alone after 42 years of being with someone 24/7, that's a shock for the system, like unthinkable shock. He didn't grieve. He wasn't crying, he didn't grieve. But he looked pretty miserable because the body had no script, so he was constantly tired. He was constantly sleeping most of the time, eating shit, wasn't really bothered with looking after himself. But in his direct experience, in his subjective experience, there was nothing wrong with right now, unless he thought about it and he didn't. So there was nothing wrong. It was just everything was unfolding as it should. And there's nothing wrong with the waves of sadness. There's nothing wrong with wailing and weeping. There's nothing wrong with experiencing just complete nothing. It's nothing wrong unless we think. That field, that free attention that is not engaged with the movement, that is not engaged in judging or making meaning making, like Tony says. The processing and meaning making and making stories, making everything to something, anything to something. Without that, and even with that, there is nothing wrong. And you may see me miserable. I may be seeing myself miserable and falling apart. I may see myself snacking on some of the remains of whatever was of pain medication. Who knows? But in the subjective experience, it's quite amazing to let everything come as it comes and let everything go and just marvel at the way this body-mind machine is adapting to a new situation and learning itself, because who knows your next thought? Nobody does. It is a discovery. It is a moment-to-moment discovery. As fascinating as it is, and as emotional as it may be. So it will be some, Bob has touched so many people so deeply. It may be similar to many of you. Just marvel at it. Just be curious about that. Because that transition, as much as every other transition, changing jobs, changing weathers, entering a new phase of life, or having hormones up and down, anything and everything, is an incredible opportunity to live the life the way he taught us. Marvel at the body, marvel at the machine, watch the mind, see how it functions, be mind blown by the way it is all automated, and all those programs, all this conditioning just doing its thing, and this is no you doing it. You are the witnessing presence, learning about it, enjoying it as it comes, because there is a subtle joy in being free from it. It's a subtle joy in being free from even the most adverse headaches or back pains or heartaches, even when they happen, even in the midst of it. And the actions also happen. The actions of calling the doctor or calling the whole show off. All those actions are not, you're not a doer of any of those either. They part of the discovery. Anyone, please? Thank you, Taz.
you were saying there about Bob and when Barbara died. You know, there's this thing that's labelled grief, and it's exactly what Tazzy was talking about before around colours. There's something there, and yet we go to school to learn the label for it. So, for instance, if we hear the word grief, there's so many associations with it, and people don't want to experience this thing called grief because of the associations with it. But just this kind of freedom to just be and notice the kind of labelling that really sits on top of it is such a perfect inquiry and such a liberation to allow the things to come and go in their fullness, and not try and hang on to anything about it and just let it flow. And I'm really thankful to Bob for really pointing me in that direction, and the liberation that's come from that is undeniable.
Yes. Keep that mic here. We have another one here. Oh, Jane, did you want to?
Yeah.
Please.
Thanks. I was just amazed at the joy that I felt yesterday at the memorial, because it was like everything that had been pointed to for the last 40 years by Bob culminated in that day. You know, there was a joy, there was a peace, there was a I don't know, it was just such a beautiful day. And, you know, the people that I know that aren't into non-duality, when I said I was going to funeral, you know, the immediate response is all doom and gloom, and I'm so sorry for your loss. And it's like I felt like saying, well, I gained by knowing this man. You know, it was a celebration of life. You know, he pointed me to the truth of my own being. You know, he told me there was no me. And it took me years and years and years to finally understand exactly what he meant. And, you know, all of a sudden there were no more questions. You know, all of a sudden there was quiet. And you believe me, it was noisy in here. So, you know, yesterday to me was just a culmination of that. I didn't feel any sadness. I just felt immense joy and gratitude for that beautiful emanation of pure intelligence energy that we called Bob, and we all know that's a label. But wow, how lucky to have had him in our lives, to have had all those pointers, and to feel those pointers in everyday life. You come across different people in different situations, and you know, it's like, you know, you just don't react the same anymore. You just don't hold on to things anymore. You're just flowing, if you like. It's just hearing, tasting, touching, smelling, thinking happens, but there's no thinker. Actions happen, but there's no, you know, person, which is only persona, which is only an image, taking the action. You know, all these things were pointed to over the years, and now they're integrated into everyday life, and I just felt immense joy. And another thing I felt immense joy about yesterday was how we're all in our hearts. We're not up here anymore, you know. We're just right here, you know, right here, you know. And, you know, I spent the majority of my life until I met Bob up here, you know. And then I was told there was a self-center, and I tried to analyse it and disseminate it, and, you know, and he said, oh, there is no self-center. I went, oh, right, okay. I'll start watching that and try not to have analysis paralysis, you know. And I was also, what also came up for me yesterday was the years and years and years and years of phone calls and questions and people coming to the door and you know, the total selfless attention to pointing, that beautiful expression that we call Bob, was, as he would say, walking the walk and talking the talk. Not only in the 12-step programs was he doing that, but with non-duality he was doing that. He actually lived what he said. You know, what you heard was how he lived, and the selflessness. I've never met anyone like him, and you know, his physical presence. You know, the big hugs and the cheeky grin, and the, you know, and the pointing when you've fallen into a trap. You know, that will stay with me always. You know, it's just, I just feel so incredibly privileged. And when my daughter and son-in-law came yesterday, and you know, my daughter said, "Oh, what's that book? I Am That." I thought, yes. Looks like a copy's going her way, real sure, for sure. And then my son-in-law, when I said, "Thank you so much for coming," he said, "It was an honour and a privilege," you know, and it's been an honour and a privilege. And thank you, Kat, for that beautiful day. I mean, and thank you, Dean, for helping our beautiful Kat. It was just so special. Thank you so much.
Oh, beautiful. Anyway, I can drop this mic and include our online. And thank you, Jane, and thank you everyone who show up, and for your beautiful, 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 heart-opening song from the start. Wow, that really set the energy. And the poem that Taz delivered in a magnificent way. So yes, it wasn't my day, there was so much help. And the help, the way things were actually lining up.
I know.
I did not look for the venue. Once thought arose, the phone call followed, and as I did mention on the memorial itself, suddenly I got the open credit by people who actually met Bob. One didn't really. He was just hanging on Skype calls or Zoom calls with Bob forever until he didn't need him anymore.
And I just say, what goes around comes around, Kat.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the other one was just here for 3 days, and then suddenly we didn't even have any issues with sponsoring that venue, because that, as you all know, funerals are really a great opportunity to rip the people off who are just too teary to worry about any costs. We didn't have them. We had the help, and it's just everything lined up in a way that was magical. And now we have
Everything's happening as it should.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, it was just so guided, it was just so easy. I mean, even me doing the eulogy, which is quite a lot of work, the pictures that I thought of were just suddenly
So
appearing
gorgeous,
out of the millions of the pictures that I had. Shocking.
And that song at the end, the Highwayman, I mean, it was perfect. And the pictures that went with it was just well done. I mean, really well done.
Yeah, I guess this one unfortunately will be a part that YouTube will kill because of the copyright issues. Bob really loved that song, as he loved many other songs, which again we will not be able to present. But because all his life wasn't really about his jobs, he didn't really care that much. Barbara was the businesswoman; she was about the money. Bob was all about love and about non-duality and about love in a relationship. He didn't really care that much about the jobs, but they somehow lined up with the song that he loved. He was a sailor.
That was amazing, yeah.
And he was a dam builder. He did build a dam, and he was a highwayman traveling across Australia, and I even put the locations there on the map.
I know.
All around. And what if not a spaceship captain? He was talking about space for all his life.
I love that.
Majority of his life. Almost 49 years of his life since he heard Nisargadatta. 2 months short of that. So 3. No, 2, yeah. But yes, I mean, people who know the song, you can just picture his life, because I can post it, but the sound will be cut off by YouTube. Or maybe in 3 days, I don't know. Anyway, Anthony says how Ramana Maharishi could eliminate questioning in some without a word. When questions fall, the answers ironically come to no one. Because if there is no one to question, no one needs the answers. And yes, everything is just clearly known. That's it. And John says, that resonates with how I am experiencing this meeting, because my mind is trying to understand, but deeper within me, I am just listening and experiencing the pointers. That's the way, yes. And there is that deep silence within. We were born with it. It was there before we took the first breath. It was there with the food and the prana of the parents and the grandparents that came together. The life was within it, and the life created that fetus. And the life, the capacity of hearing developed, of course, as the fetus was developing. But the silence was there always, before the capacity came along. And of course, the pointer suggests time. It's a timeless capacity. And Tanya says, as Nisargadatta would say, there is nothing wrong anymore. What a beautiful way of describing. In that place, in that relaxed, silent present, there is nothing wrong. There's nothing right either, because there is no words. But nothing wrong is beautiful, beautiful way to just dispel everything. Because you don't need anything right. Yet when there is nothing wrong and there is no you to need anything. And Anthony says crying is beautiful if you don't label it. So true, Kat. It is. It's amazing.
Tears wash away the past.
Yeah. And that's that. Anyone? Oh yes, yeah.
Just a basic question and a little bit of introduction. Some time ago it was noticed that when one looked into an open panorama in nature, things started to appear transparent. And one got a sense of the emptiness of things. But the question I have is about the solidity.
Yeah.
I think Tazzy might have given a bit of a clue about his spiel about oxygen and hydrogen grasping each other. But what about the solidity? The bricks and mortar,
Amazing, isn't
hardness of iron, and you know, very rarely do people jumping off cliffs survive. What about the solidness of this apparent illusion?
This dream. What about the solidity of the dream that you dream?
Yeah.
It seems so real, doesn't it? You climb the mountain, you go to the building, you kiss a woman, and it feels so real, tangible. They solid. And poof, they're gone in the morning. And that is the same dream, which its apparent solidity, the omnipotence of that life. How wonderfully it can express itself in such detail, and it can fool itself to appear so real. And poof, it's gone when it's gone. When you fall asleep, it's gone. And another reality replaces it. Equally solid. It's a magical display. There are ways of explaining it, but there are much, much better ways to not needing to know the details of explanations. You can talk about the particles, vibrations, things, and the perception, the way the brain interprets, and the learning. It's so much freer to just see the whole landscape. The daydream, you fall asleep, and also, the imagination. You picture your dinner last night, and off come it. It is less solid, but it still appears quite real, and then depends again on the capacity of the particulars. You can envision things, and then you fall asleep, and another reality, and another, and sometimes 10 realities in one night. If you train yourself to remember how many of them, all solid, all substantial, how incredible, magical display. And how wonderful to just rest, be that space, and marvel, like Jane was saying, just descend from that head that wants to know and understand and work it all out, into the heart which just marvels. Wow. Tony?
I'll just add to that. I suppose what you highlighted is the temporal disappearance, like in time. But the spatial one is when you go and just talk about the particles vibrating and things like that, and sometimes that's also what empties the mind.
Yeah.
So the notion, oh, time, boom, gone, that can just empty your mind. Pointing out of particles vibration or in microscope seeing stuff that is not seen in another way, that can also empty your mind.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean there's no mind obviously, but thoughts may stop popping up
True.
in one
Yeah.
spot or another spot. So
Yeah.
it's all like just as valid and useful.
It is,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, it is.
I'll just say something if it's
Please.
or whatever, it doesn't matter. So, let me just get for myself. So space can't. It doesn't matter what comes or goes in it.
Yeah.
It's not affected by anything. And I'm not in the body is in
Yes.
that space.
Yes.
And I'm not the mind, because that's just a thought that I'm identifying with. So I'm the space itself.
Yeah.
But it doesn't matter if we're in this house, the space is here, but if the walls aren't, it's still here.
Yes.
So it's not bounded by anything.
Mm.
So it doesn't really matter what is in that space, because we're not that.
Beautiful. Mm.
Infinite diversity. But the basis of the manifestation is space.
Silence sticks.
By investigating the appearance, you miss the essence. And never really, trying to sort of work it out in the mind. The fact is that all appearance is transient, and it's all spontaneously manifesting. But it can't be present without your awareness. Can't be present without your consciousness. Can't separate anything in the appearance from your own presence, from your own awareness. So in essence, it is your own awareness. Again, there's no duality and non-duality. By obsessing over the appearance, we tend to miss the essence.
Beautifully said. Yeah.
Rather than trying to analyze and work out the appearance, if we understand the essence, then we understand the appearance also, because there's no separation between them. Everything is space, and space is everything. If you examine it, if you try to work out the thing directly and exclude the essence, which is the space or the consciousness, you never come to a true understanding of the truth of the situation. Because the space is nothing, no thing, an emptiness, and this awareness is also not a thing. It's also empty in nature. And the space is a reflection or a manifestation of this awareness. That's where the source of the space. The source of the space is this emptiness. that we are, you know. Awareness is emptiness. Therefore, the manifestation is also emptiness. If you want to put it another way, God made the world out of himself. That's not the way we usually go, you know, using that concept, but the unborn is emptiness, pure emptiness, and when it gave birth to the world, it gave birth to itself as emptiness also. So it's a reflection. The appearance is a reflection of the essence in nature.
And within that essence is that pure intelligence energy. And Bob used to say, you know, that chair was an idea in somebody's mind. That building was an idea, or not that there is mind. That chair, like Tazzy said, is a manifestation of that intelligence, pure intelligence. You know, somebody just got a piece of wood and carved that chair, you know. But that's still, even though it appears as an object, it's no thing really. It's hard to reiterate, but yeah, it's
Can I?
Oh, go on.
No, go ahead.
This
You can have it for
morning,
later.
No, thanks.
this morning I was having breakfast, and there was a mum and a little toddler, and just outside the bathroom, and I was listening to their conversation. And the mother was saying, "That's a door," and the toddler was saying, "I am the door." And this is really interesting while I'm on the loo. And then she said, "That's yellow," and the toddler said, "I'm yellow."
Oh, wow.
"That's green, I'm green."
Oh.
Really? And I was like, "Thank you, Bob."
Gorgeous. That's so beautiful.
So that, yeah, thank you. It was
Is
really-
it, the universe is hangs in, is created in with this spacious, is consciousness. It is within. It is. It's the when you think about this, your question about solidity, matter. The body seems solid, but it only exists relative to space around it. So anything that is relative only exists, which is everything that you experience, doesn't have its own independent
That's
validity or
Yeah.
veracity. It's the same as time. It's not different. Time only exists in a relative sense,
That's right.
relative from point A to point B. It's the same with matter, seeming matter. Is that making sense? So
Yeah.
you
Yes.
take away this seeming boundary only exists because of space and is relative to it. It's the same as everything. So I mean, this is that's the you are no thing, but things are seemingly appear, but only they hang in space. You take away the space.
Take away the thought.
Or there's no thing.
Sorry, you
A thought
Just
is a
another
thing.
way of
Yeah.
Yeah. So I just had a thought when you're talking about solidity and when Tazzy was saying about
The mic in your mouth.
H2O. You know. And I remember ages ago with this stuff is that you're attracted to something or you're not attracted to
Repelled.
something.
Yeah.
Repelled. And it just made me think about solidity, that all these little atoms, you know, the H2O is attracted, and that's what makes solidity. So all these little atoms being attracted to each other, and so it forms the body, it forms the rock, it forms this, and you know, so it just gave me that idea that that's the solidity of things. It's the attraction of the little atoms, or the little energy atoms going,
Yeah.
and that's, you know, and when it's not going to happen, it's repelled, and it just sort of brought me back to that whole thing of you're attracted to something, you're repelled to something, and this life and this solidity is just all those little atoms that are attracted into a little rock, they're attracted into a little, you know, material, and just sound.
And when you break that all down, it's emptiness.
Yeah, that's right. They're fundamentally space,
Yeah.
which is really, and all you're experiencing is a vibration
Yes.
in
Yeah,
that
that's
space.
right.
That's
Pattern
all
of energy.
these atoms
Yes.
seeming are. They're not it's the Greek word for, the fundamental, but it's not.
Did you want the microphone, Cole? Did you?
Yeah, just look at
The scientist.
I think you find the point where space finishes and awareness starts. And you find that separating point.
Yeah, good luck with that.
We're all commenting on this from different points of view. I became a scientist at one stage, and
Speak to the mic.
Into the mic.
we were taught a story. This is a story. This describes this.
Mike.
This describes this, and this describes that.
Yeah.
And it's no less a story than any other story. In actual fact, what we refer to as our block of steel, that's just it's just a process. Everything is a process. It never is never something that you can capture at all. It's just moving. So it's not actually real. It is an appearance, and it's and yeah, that's enough.
It says everything right out. Yes. Every minute.
Yep, thanks for something came to mind, and
Speak to mic. A little closer.
Speaking to the mic.
Yeah, people are having trouble. Oh yes, please, yes.
so I'm just trying to connect a few things that are sort of seemingly connected, but it's about the thingness of this apparent duality, really. But on Thursday, I accompanied my wife to an art class called Creative Age, and at least half the people there were suffering from dementia or some form of Alzheimer's, etc. And the teacher was giving us these simple art exercises that I remember when I was in first grade at primary school. So we were trying to do designs and things with brushes from of trees and plants and things. So the first thing I noticed was, and I was invited to join in as well. First thing I noticed was you didn't have any control, and I realised I was a control freak. And I felt exactly the same frustration as when I was a 5-year-old, and realised that I've kept that going, wanting to find out about this apparent illusion. And I can see the connections right through my career. I started as a screen printer, and I was fascinated by the half-tone screen I used to break up an image on a space, say an image in space. You can photograph whatever appears and break it up with a half-tone screen. So everything was broken down into little dots. And then from a distance, those dots become people and images in a photographic process. So it's still going back to the idea of having control over what appears in vision. So interesting how far back these habits create patterns and habits and tendencies and some form of vision. ignorance.
And how do you know that?
I just know it.
So you're saying knowing is just happening spontaneously.
Yeah.
What's cognizing that flow of concepts, you know, that was just delivered?
Yeah, there's something that knows, and when there's the isolation that takes place that separates this from everything else, everybody else,
Speak to the mic.
something else comes in, and so, like yesterday I was on the door, you know, an idea had come in, oh, that'd be nice, I'll just stand still. Feel your feet on the ground. And through that, just there's a job to do. Just open the door. I've got
The action figure.
PhD in door opening.
That's the job.
So, by just feeling my feet on the ground, everything, the mind stopped. Any thinking stopped. The awareness was heightened because Tazzy walked through the door without, he just invisibly walked in. A lot of other people stopped and waited to be greeted and given their little...
And
But yeah, in those moments where you feel isolated and the separation rises, the answer is just be quiet, relax, and then something presents. And
that's exactly right. And if I could just have that for a minute. Sorry, go for it. Go for it, Jess.
Well, I think the first thing that Bob said to me when I first come, how did you know to come here? And obviously you found it on the internet, but there's that knowing that's how you got, you had to just come here. So we already know everything, really. We just get reminded sometimes by different people. Yeah.
That's right, and I noticed that in my everyday life, that you know, there's a list of things that need to be done, right, that I've sort of thought about, and I don't sort of, you know, have a plan or anything, and then all of a sudden these things just appear in front of me, you know, and I go, oh, that action needs to be taken, or is being taken, or action is happening, and then I'll think, oh, you know, I'll just do this or that, but then another thing appears, and action is taken, but there's no doer.
Yeah. It's like, really, we know to go to the toilet, really, don't we? So, I mean, I don't mean it in a, but we just know to do it.
Yeah, that's
natural
right. That's pure intelligence, energy directs everything.
Yeah.
And we never did a thing.
No.
And ultimately, really, there's just attractions and repellings, and ultimately, if you're not thinking about it, is there any kind of knowing anywhere?
Well, you know that you are.
No, without thinking about it, what's there? Nothing.
Exactly.
No meaning at all. No meaning.
You know that you are non-conceptually.
Yeah, that's the non-conceptual knowing.
Well, that knowing is that chit.
Pure intelligence.
Chit and nanda, the knowing is the chit.
Well, then I guess
Namarupna.
No, there's no you to believe it. It's non-conceptual.
It's not even necessarily there, though. It's just an assumption.
Satchitananda Namarupna. We forgot about the Namarupna today. Name and form. Satchitananda Namarupna.
I like what Bob said. Ultimately, there's not void. Everything else is out the window. Everything else is meaning.
Yeah, that's great. I have the last comment here from the online community to include. Jane says, we are all in a dream, a strange dream to wake up to.
Can you change a dream? Is there a you to even change it? And yeah, who cares? Who would ever even want it? And that's it. Anyone? We have a couple of minutes, and then we may go for lunch. And a cake.
Oh, sorry.
And a cake.
There's an automatic reaction.
Yes, so I'll just highlight, I really loved how Tazzy really beautifully, brilliantly pointed out to the basic understanding that, hello, first things first. You know, there is all the content appearing in that space-like awareness, which is the first thing. I mean, if you know, we are really kind of sharing the same space of love for the truth. We are truth lovers, just like Bob was. And that truth is really pointing out to that pure intelligence, or space-like awareness, or intelligence energy, which is not personal, which is not in anyone else anything, is no thing really. But at the same time, there is undeniable presence. And we can say there isn't, or we don't know it, but yes, of course, conceptually we don't, if we don't think about it. But yet, there is still a presence in which that non-conceptual not thinking about it is presently happening. The seeing, hearing, tasting, touching, smelling, the miracle of existence, shining in its full glory, moment to moment, always fresh, ever new. Incomprehensible, because all the meanings can be changed, all the meanings are just stories added, and they can be appreciated as part of the landscape, but they're not the truth, because the truth is that which never changes. And that love for the truth that we share, the truth that never changes, that pure space-like capacity, the aliveness, the presence, the awareness, whatever we want to call it, that we all just return, come back to, and in which there is no separation, and there is just oneness. There is only a thought that separates. In the experience, there is no separation between your being, my being, a being of a chair, only the labels, and the associations with the labels, and the sensations that are also labeled, that are creating the sense of separation. And recognizing what creates that seeming sense of separation, and marvel at it, because it will always appear this way. And how wonderful that it will always appear, as long as the body is there, as long as the brain functions and interprets, as long as the eyes are seeing and the skin is sensing. It will appear this way. But knowing the truth, and the truth will set you free. And you marvel at the brilliance of that appearance. How convincing is the omnipotence, is the omniscience, is the God, like Tazzy was saying, that creates the world of itself. And that is what you are, that omniscience, omnipresence. And everything that appears within that presence is also the way that God or you created of itself, without any personal action or doing. It is just a spontaneous activity. It's like the dream, it's a spontaneous arising. And the interpretation of it is also spontaneous arising. And marveling it and enjoying it as it comes without being bound by it. That's the freedom. And I think that is about the time for that birthday cake for Heyman. I'm looking forward to it.
Was it Heyman's birthday?
It was yesterday.
Oh, happy birthday.
What a way for a birthday.
I know, I said we'll never forget his birthday now.
Yeah. It's a 35th birthday. What a wonderful age.
35th?
Yes.
Oh God, I remember 35.
It was Shana's yesterday as well.
Sharna's as well, but she is working today. I would love to have another cake for her. Yeah.
Thank you, Kat.
And Julia's birthday actually in here. So happy birthday,
I
Julia.
wish her.
Although she is in America, so it's day before there. Saturday in America, so Julia can have a cake for Heyman and tomorrow for herself. So thank you everyone. Thank you.
Thanks, Kat. Thanks, Tazzy. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you.